over his failure to meet the demands of protesting resident doctors in Edo State. Good morning, gentlemen of the press. We have requested your presence this morning to express our condemnation of the inhumane treatment resident doctors and other health workers in Edo State are suffering at the hands of the outgoing Governor Gov Obaseki and this abdication of basic state responsibilities, which contributed to the first 3-day warning strike embarked on recently by resident doctors in the state, to the ultimate detriment of Edo people who continue to bear the brunt of Mr. Gov Obaseki, abandonment of governance, and deprecable nonchalance to its constitutional responsibilities to the good people of Edo State. While it is expected of government to prioritize the health and welfare of its citizens in this pestilential time of coronavirus by committing sufficient funds to matters of health and rebuilding of the economy, impaired by restrictions, unfortunately in Edo State, we do not have a government truly devoted to the welfare of its people. In fact, we do not have a government, and recent events have confirmed this tragic fact. One of the most recent heart-aching developments is the failure of Governor Obaseki's government to avert the 3-day strike organized by the Edo State chapter of the Association of Resident Doctors, and thus bringing untoward hardship and suffering to patients in hospitals across the state who were already reeling from the governor's 4 years of total misrule. It is both disappointing and indeed saddening that the series of events that warranted the strike was orchestrated by this same government through its ineptitude, lack of vision, negligence, and outright devotion to the profligate squandering of state funds. The members of the Association of Resident Doctors in Edo State have repeatedly lamented their lack of fair and deserved care, especially in the face of new and daunting challenges of the coronavirus disease, which portends a more tasking, more risky, and more life-threatening reality for the medical practitioners by the Obaseki-led Edo State government. After numerous attempts to engage the state government failed, the members of the Association of Resident Doctors recently went on a 3-day warning strike by removing themselves from duty to force an administration that has turned deaf ears to the pleas of the people into taking a break from its mindless and destructive politicking and carry out its obligatory rules of governance. The outgoing Governor Obaseki, was well briefed on the planned strike and the understandable reasons that informed it. He was also presented with an opportunity to speak with the stakeholders in the hope of meeting their demands and dousing their agitation. But the governor, in this characteristic aloofness, remained adamant and instead committed resources of state into his ill-fated second-term electionary campaigns. In the most heartbreaking news of this development, Governor Obaseki, the governor, who should be after the welfare of Edo people, rather politicized the situation, telling doctors he can only make their demands once the September 19th election is over, and he is, God forbid, sworn in as the governor in his second term. In simple terms, This is the act of abdication of his constitutional responsibilities. It shows the lack of human empathy and a lack of touch with reality. Definitely unequipped to negotiate with agitating unions, this governor and his government cannot be excused on the grounds of lack of funds. As early as April, Governor Obaseki had in a lengthy broadcast announced to the world that he has spent over 1 billion naira in responding to the coronavirus pandemic in Edo State. Why then are doctors who are the foremost in the frontline respondents of this pandemic left without insurance and owed over 11 months? There have been confirmed deaths in a lack of personal protective equipment and other government failures, which the Obaseki-led administration has failed to address, despite claiming to have incurred billions in unaccounted costs to combat the coronavirus disease. In June, the entire world was treated to the of over 200 health personnel in a State coronavirus response team protesting their illegal termination following months of unpaid salaries and allowances by Mr. Godwin Obaseki's Edo State government. This event, apart from confirming our previous outcry that Edo State is now on autopilot, following the governor's exclusive focus on this money rain brand of politics, are undoubtedly the manifestation of the one consequences of Mr. Godwin Obaseki's 50 billion naira payment to the tax collectors of the PDP in the procurement of his tickets. It is not a surprise, therefore, that since Mr. Godwin Obaseki paid the ransom to the PDP, his already failing administration collapsed and all other government functions became grounded completely, except for the continuous oiling of the PDP macabre machine of rigging and outrageous violence. When we have a situation where health workers in the pandemic are treated with such disdain by the state government, unmoved by the disastrous consequences of the absence from work, then it shows that we are in trouble, and anyone who cares about the survival of the state must join like-minded individuals and groups to challenge and defeat the cruel, uncaring, and oppressive administration of Mr. Godwin Obaseki. It is against this backdrop that we demand that the governor immediately disembarks from this ongoing monotonous campaign across the state and return to Sadebe Avenue to meet with the resident doctors with the view of meeting their demands and putting an end to any planned strike action in the future, especially as they have just ended their 3-day warning strike, which is a condition precedent for a prolonged strike. In any case, if campaigns have been jejuned, devoid of life, rendered empty and uninteresting, because every visit to each community in the state, rather than excite, represents a sorrowful reminder of the embarrassing defeat that awaits the governor as he is met by little or no crowd, most of whom live disappointed in the governor's lack of achievement, charisma, and connection with the people. Furthermore, we are also demanding immediate publishing of the complete details of all government expenditure on the Edo State government's coronavirus response to allow for scrutiny and accountability. Failure to do so will only affirm the fact made by the governor's own appointees who resigned inter-alia, protesting that he has been manipulating the outbreak of coronavirus in Edo State to divert state funds to his ill-fated election campaign. We call Mr. Governor out this morning to stop further application of its constitutional responsibilities and face serious urgent matters of state. Thank you for listening.